Hello, everybody. Allie Duzette here, medical intuitive and astrologer. And guys, it is Virgo season. Yeah, so exciting because that is my native season, guys. Yes, it's true. I'm a Virgo, and that will all make sense as I explain what Virgo is all about. Okay, this right here is the sign for Virgo. It's an M with this little crossed leg. Okay, it's the little crossed leg, and that is technically, I mean, all of these things are images that are symbolic of what's going on in the chart, as far as like, these are the claws of Cancer the crab, and this is the mane of Leo the lion. And this is, basically like the Virgin with her legs crossed, Virgo the Virgin. This is the one sign in the chart that is female. There's feminine signs and masculine signs by kind of like temperament, I guess you could say, but Virgo the Virgin is always depicted as female. Okay, and geez, I just love Virgo energy, of course, because I am one, so that makes so much sense, but I love it so much. So let's just talk about it. What is Virgo all about? First off, the sun entered Virgo about 2 days ago, I believe on August 21st or August 22nd. That's like when it switches over. The exact moment that the sun moves over can depend year to year, but here we are. The sun is now 2.5 degrees of Virgo. I was born at 4 degrees of Virgo, so my birthday is mere days away. But we're still at the very fresh start of Virgo season. So let's talk about Virgo energy. Okay, Virgo is the nurse of the zodiac. And that is kind of the archetype that you can think about with Virgo, and it will not let you down. What do we think about when we think about a nurse? First off, this is somebody that has studied probably a lot of science, okay, very logical and detail-oriented and analytical. This is somebody that's probably pretty health focused, okay? They want people to be healthy. They want themselves to be healthy. And this is a person that is probably really good at keeping schedules, keeping routines. Basically, Virgo is the sign of the zodiac where if you need to take pills 3 times a day, like you want a Virgo to be the one in charge of meting out those pills for you. Virgo energy is a little bit infamous for being uptight and being routine oriented to the exclusion of being functional, I guess. That's like kind of a stereotype that can be associated with Virgo. And of course, it really depends, person to person, how that energy is going to show up. So this is an example of, today, this is right this minute. If you looked up at the sky in this exact moment, the sun is in Virgo, but the moon is in Leo, and Venus is right next to that moon. So any baby that's born right this minute, right here in my house, it's not going to happen. But if they were, we're looking at a person who would have a really pronounced logical side, but also be very probably, the word coming to my mind is flamboyant, but just very fun, exciting, and charming. And Virgo is not necessarily associated with those words naturally, right? And so here in this example, you see that Leo is on the cusp of this house. This right here in this chart, this sun is in the 8th house. And you have Leo on the cusp here. And so this Virgo sun is going to have the flavor of Leo. And so when you see a very charming person with a Virgo sun, very often that can be linked to having Leo on the cusp of the house that their sun is in. And yes, since I know you were wondering, my own chart has a Virgo sun with Leo on the cusp. So it explains so much. So Virgo, so I just bring that up because Virgo has all of these traits that are associated with it, but what else is going on in the chart is really going to impact that. So let's go back to this transit chart and pretend it's a person, the baby that's born right here. They have this Virgo sun. And Virgo is also a hard worker. Virgo and Capricorn, I would say, are like the hardest workers of the zodiac. They just think work is fun. Like, I think work is so fun. I love working. Like, I love just like doing tasks. I just love tasks. Like, I love tasks so much. And that's a really Virgo trait. It's a really Capricorn trait. But look at this. Today, Pluto is at 26 degrees of Capricorn retrograde, okay, in the first house, and in this exact moment, it's intercepted. So a baby that was born right this minute, they might have this inborn love of working because they are a Virgo sun, and Virgo sun just like naturally is driven to tasks and accomplishment and working. But this Pluto in Capricorn is going to also make working feel like death. It's going to be a big call to die and be reborn in the context of working. In retrograde, it's going to make it so that it's possible that how their work goals show up for them, it will take them longer to accomplish their work goals than perhaps otherwise. And intercepted, that's going to make it also tricky to figure out what they're supposed to do every day. And with a rising Sagittarius and a double rising Sagittarius, you see these two Sagittarius cusps right here. It's going to make this person's energy a lot more unpredictable than you might expect with a Virgo sun. Virgo is at its core very predictable, and Virgo itself as a archetype does not love unpredictability. But there are other signs on the chart that are very unpredictable. And so when you have strong placements in both Virgo and those other signs, then you're going to see just some changes in how that can look, how that shows up. A person with a Virgo sun, but who has, this kind of setup might have a different kind of work experience than you might expect, Or here we have Jupiter in Aries next to Chiron in Aries for our mythological person here. And with Jupiter in Aries, Jupiter expands things. Aries can be a little bit of an impulsive sign. So I would look at this chart in particular and look at this North Node next to Uranus. And I would say this is somebody who yearns for routine, but routine is pretty elusive because their emotions are in a fire sign and they're a little bit erratic and unpredictable. They've got this Jupiter here in Aries, also impulsive. Sagittarius just wants to wander on its own time and do whatever the wind, blows it towards. And yeah, with that Capricorn intercepted, it's going to give this person, even though they have a Virgo sun, they're going to have a really unique flavor of how that shows up for them. So not everybody with a Virgo sun will show up the same way. And it just depends on everything else that's going on in the chart. Oh, hello. Here, come say hi to everyone. Here's Danielle. Hello. Hello, everybody. She brought me a shoe. Can you say shoe? Yeah? Want to say shoe? Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Shoes are on, ready for adventures. Now, this exact Virgo season, so Virgo is associated with the harvest. Can anybody guess why? Yes, of course you can. It's harvest season, right? At least in the Northern Hemisphere. This is a time when people are harvesting stuff. And so Virgo is associated with that. And that's one reason why it's linked to working and being hardworking. Like the season of Virgo season is a season where people typically have to work pretty hard. I mean, like farming stuff, you got to work pretty hard to make everything work out during Virgo season. But this exact Virgo season, okay, every year, every season, all of the planets are going in their own clocks, right? And the sun goes around this clock and it takes a whole year to go all the way around in a circle, right? But in the meantime, the moon takes 28 days to go around, so it's going around pretty fast. Mercury takes 3 months about, Mars takes 2.5 years. And then some of these guys, right? Pluto takes 244 years, right? So every moment here, I ran this when I first started this video, and now we're going to do the current transits. That's how far it has moved in just not a lot of time. Sorry, my baby is a crazy person over there. But one thing that will be worth keeping our eyes on during this exact Virgo season is, first off, this is going to change pretty quick. by certainly, oh yeah, by my own birthday is going to be the new moon. My birthday this year is going to be the new moon, where the moon and the sun are both in Virgo. So I'll just tell you, my birthday is in 2 days. So in 2 days, this moon will already be all out of this area and be up here. But this is something that has been, again, going on since, you remember, July 31st was when we had Uranus and the North Node going exact. And now they're still close together. And so this energy is going to be impacting this Virgo season also. And so where Virgo energy really likes to be predictable, this is anything but. And this is really just going to be shaking up everything that's going on. Hey, what's going on? Hello, baby. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, the other big thing that's going on with this, so Uranus is naturally disruptive, but now it's going retrograde. What? It just went retrograde yesterday, and so it's actually going to head back to the North Node and, going back that way and then go forwards again. So it's going to whack that North Node 2 more times, okay? Pretty shortly, in the next few months. So one thing to note about Uranus retrograde, Uranus is a slow moving planet. It has an 84-year cycle. And so it goes retrograde pretty regularly, and it actually spends about half of its time retrograde. So it's not really considered like a big deal. Like Mercury retrograde is kind of considered a big deal. It spends, most of its time going direct and a little bit of its time going retrograde. And same with Mars, same with Venus. But Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, these things take so long to move around the chart that they just spend years at a time in retrograde often, and so it's not considered such a big deal when somebody is born under a retrograde of Uranus or Pluto. But it is something to just be aware of, that now we're entering this period where on a global level, we are all going to get another chance to reevaluate how unexpected events show up and disrupt our stability. We're going to get a chance to reevaluate how we respond to those events emotionally and in our actions, and how we respond to it, how other people are responding to things that are being shaken up. And it just wouldn't surprise me if we just see more surprises, possibly sooner than we think, and I don't know what that means. I don't know, but this is something interesting. And this grand cross right here of the North Node, South Node, Uranus, Saturn in Aquarius, and then Venus up here, and the moon, but the moon's going to be out of that space momentarily. So I'm just taking a look at that. I mean, geez, to me, it looks like we have a national rendezvous with unexpected events that involve our karma, our unresolved issues surrounding the internet and entertainment. Venus in Leo. Leo is the entertainer. Venus loves comfort. Saturn over here is the Lord of Karma, and Aquarius deals with the internet and large groups of people. Again, I mean, I've talked about it in my last video about that we're coming up into a time where we're all just going to have to be really mindful of our digital footprint and how we're showing up on the internet. But this grand cross right here, this big red square, just is kind of hammering that point home to me, that we have a calling right now, and we're going to see it at least through the rest of Virgo season, but it's going to keep going through about 2024 because of Pluto retrograding back into it's going to go forward into Aquarius, then it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn, and then go back to Aquarius. So we have a lot going on with internet stuff in the next 2 years, basically. But it's all just getting started right now. So please let this be a reminder to you, this Venus across from Saturn right here, to just be so careful that your draw for entertainment and fun videos like this one, don't let them get in the way of your real life, okay? We cannot be distracted. The North Node here is in Taurus, and Taurus is going to deal with cold, hard reality, facts, like the dirt under your house, you know, like the stuff that is actually real. And as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about my own story, and I'll just tell it to you really quick. Because when I was 11 or 12, my mom got me this book about politics, and I read it, and I had this like massive spiritual experience, and I knew that I had to be very involved in politics in my life. And I moved out when I was 16. Long story, I went to BYU, and I knew that I had to study politics because I felt like politics were the ultimate foundation of everything, like the entire world, everything that you look at. It is all touched by legislation and by executive orders and by these different layers of government and government corruption. And I just knew like, yes, I have to be involved with this. So I must study political science. But I got enwrapped in my political science, and for one of my classes in that first semester, I think, we had to go campaign for somebody, and I ended up being hired as a campaign strategist at the age of like 16. Yes. And I realized, oh wait, like you don't need a degree in this to be paid. Like this is silly to study as an actual career. That was my conclusion. It's cool if you did it, but like for me, I was like, man, I can just get a job managing campaigns as like a teenager. So like, okay, maybe I don't need a degree in this if I'm going to do campaigns. And I thought the real problem isn't you know, the campaign side. The real problem is the mental side. The real problem is that, you know, human beings need to consciously understand the principles that underlie a functioning government. And when people don't get it, that's when we get what we get. You know, we get what we are kind of seeing in many, you know, varying arenas all over, you know, the county, nation, state, globe, like every country. You know, we all are reaping the benefits of the level of civic understanding and involvement of all of the people inside. And I thought, okay, the real thing, if I really want to help the world, what I really have to do is write. I really need to be able to write things that are compelling enough that it can change people's minds and get them thinking about important things in a different way, and in a way that might impact how they're showing up at the polls. And so I switched my major to English, and I was in that for about a semester when I realized, oh my gosh, like I there's only so many ways. Like, do I really have to interpret all literature from an Eskimo stance or like whatever, you know, like, do we have to do an Eskimo reading of every kind of short story that exists? I was like, this is a waste of my time. I can write. I don't need a degree in this. And at the time I was taking environmental science, and I fell in love with that class, and I ended up changing my major to environmental science. And when I did, it just hit me that, you know, I thought politics were so fundamental, and I thought our ideas were so fundamental, and I had completely missed, I had missed the forest for the trees. What an apt metaphor. That the thing that really matters is the earth, you know, that's the soil. If we don't have soil, what do we have? You know, if we do not have the abiotic factors of life available to us, what do we have? And so that is when I really threw my heart into soil sciences and water sciences and air pollution sciences and all of that kind of thing. And that is what I got my degree in. And so I bring that all up because I remembered that right here with this Uranus shaking up all of our foundations. And this is the true foundation. Okay, Taurus governs the land. And I think we're going to see some big shakeups with land. We're going to see shakeups with our emotional foundations as well. And that also brings me right back to Venus, not Venus, Virgo, because Virgo is an earth sign. Okay, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn are the three earth signs of the chart. And so it was really funny after everything, you know, to go back and read my own chart and see that my sun is in an earth sign. And like, of course, I'm like so driven to Mother Earth and the soil and everything. That's such a Virgo thing to do, is to love the earth. And Virgo in particular wants to love the earth in a very clean way. Virgo does not like to get dirty. And I can like personally attest to that. Ugh, I hate dirt. Like I love soil and I just like also hate it. Like I love to love it and I don't really want to touch it that much because it gets into your fingernails. That's disgusting. And that's a really Virgo way to look at the earth. Okay, some last notes about Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury traditionally. Okay, go get a drink, Kenny. Mercury rules Virgo, and right now Mercury is in Virgo. And for this exact Virgo season, we only have a few more days, I think, of Mercury going forward, and then it's going to go retrograde and it's going to come back into Virgo during Virgo season, I believe, and then it's going to go direct out of Virgo again. But we're in the shadow phase of Mercury retrograde right now, which kind of means that we're going to get just some little gentle stirrings up of what it means to have Mercury in retrograde in this Virgo and Libra region. And we're going to see it a lot more in the next couple of weeks. And I'm hoping to do another Mercury retrograde series for us all because I think those are fun and I would love to do that. But Mercury goes with Virgo. It is very analytical, very curious, very intellectual. It's a very mental sign. You know, Virgo, I would say, is probably the most mental of the earth signs. You know, it's just very intellectually driven and wants to understand things in a logical way. Virgo is so practical. It just doesn't have time to waste on things that don't make logical sense. It has no time for that. So Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. And now I will tell you my own controversial opinion. But to do that, I need to add in a few more pieces to the puzzle. Technically, when I read a chart, I usually read with all of these things on it, but I took them out for simplification here for this video. But where's the one? This is the one. This right here is called Hygeia. And right now, look, Hygeia is conjunct the South Node. Very cool. But Hygeia, what that shape is the caduceus, okay? It's the snakes wrapping around the staff that represent, you know, like healing, like you see on the side of the ambulance or the hospital. And Hygeia, this is Hygeia, okay? Hygeia is all about routines. She's all about daily routines and health. I always say she's the energy of like flossing multiple times a day, every day, you know? She's the energy of taking a look at what needs to happen for a day to go smoothly and a physical life to go smoothly, and then she makes it happen. Like she's all routine oriented. My secret feeling is that Hygeia, I mean, I like Mercury as the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury is the true ruler of Virgo. But if Virgo had a secondary ruler, or shall we say a queen, you know, if Mercury is the king, then I vote Hygeia is the queen of Virgo. And if people are having troubles establishing routines, if they're having body health problems in a chart, you know, you always look at Virgo and, you know, some other places. But for me, I also always look at Hygeia as well, because I feel like the two of them go together very well. And you can get a lot of additional information on how Virgo shows up for you when you look at Mercury and also when you look at Hygeia. So that is my little controversial take on that. Okay, well, welcome to Virgo season, my friends. Thanks for being here. I hope you learned something new today. All you fellow Virgos out there, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Let's make this Virgo season fabulous, and I will see you later.